What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Liam Picks Fights. Today on the show, we're going to be going over yet another UFC heavyweight main event. This time, we've got the heavy-handed Jairzinho Rozenstriuk on one side, and on the other side, we've got Ciryl Gane, the biggest prospect in the heavyweight division. This is a fight a lot of people are excited for. It's a main event that I'm certainly looking forward to breaking down, and I wanted to get on and share my action with you guys, as well as some degenerate plays that I might have in terms of props and things that I'm looking forward to on this card. So guys, before we get started, I want to ask everybody who's watching this video, guys, please like this video. Please subscribe to this channel. I've told you before, and I'll say it again, Liam Picks Fights is bringing a lot of content to you, and there's big things on the horizon, guys. I've got a big announcement coming very shortly. I'm excited to share that with you guys, but in the interim, I want you guys to get subscribed, get on board, because this train's rolling with or without you, but I want you on board. And if you're going to follow my action, awesome. Let me know in the comments section below. If you're going to fade my action, no problem. I respect that, but let me know in the comments below who you're going to put your money behind, all right? So, guys, first and foremost, in the main event, here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Ciryl Gane. This guy is a freak of nature, guys. One of the fastest, most agile, most mobile heavyweight strikers that we've seen come into the UFC. He's only had 7 professional fights, and he's already put away former UFC champions. He's put away guys with a lot more experience than him. I think very highly of Ciryl Gane. I think he's a real prospect, and I think he's going to be a problem for a lot of guys in the heavyweight division. Then on the other side, guys, we got Jairzinho Rozenstriuk. This guy can hit like a freaking truck. He's put out Arlovsky. He put out Junior Dos Santos. He stumbled in his fight against Francis Ngannou, but who hasn't? You know, very few guys. So I think that Jairzinho Rozenstriuk's a live dog. I think he's a real problem, and I think that he's a dangerous man. He's got a lot of power in his hands. He's a good kicker. He can kick very hard, especially to the legs. So I think that Bigi Boy is a tough challenge. I think that this is the right step up for Ciryl Gane. I think it's a big step up for Ciryl Gane, but I think that this is a matchup that needs to take place, and that's going to tell us a lot about the heavyweight division moving forward. So I'm going to let you guys know up front, I have no action on this fight, okay? And the reason I'm sharing that is because if you guys watched the show last week, you know that I broke down a heavyweight main event between Curtis Blaydes, Derek Lewis. I thought that it was a great fight. I thought that a lot of the analysis I provided for you guys ended up showing through. And then all of a sudden, Derek Lewis, this man comes through with the bus driver uppercut, knocks out Curtis Blaydes. And it made me think, guys, we've got to be careful when we're betting on heavyweights especially. So that Chris Daukaus pick, I was very comfortable making it because I had, about 75 cents in terms of minus 160 was the price I paid. And the closing line on that was about minus 220, minus 225, depending on the place that you look, the book. And that Chris Daukaus pick, for me, had a great deal of confidence, right? I think that Ciryl Gane is the deserving favorite in this matchup, but I also think that the way that the odds have been released at minus 300, I think that that's too wide an indication. I think the market was correct in bringing that price down to closer to minus 250 for Ciryl Gane, but I don't have any interest in backing Ciryl Gane on the money line at that price, minus 250. I think that there's too much variance in heavyweight MMA. And I think on top of that, guys, Jairzinho Rozenstriuk, he lost almost every minute against Alistair Overeem. Probably was down 2 rounds, 3 rounds to 1. And he ends up knocking out Alistair with a few seconds left in the fight. That just proves that he's always dangerous to the last bell. And I think that we got to be careful when we're looking at these heavyweight contests. I think there's a line that's the same as the Ciryl Gane money line. That's the much better value spot, in my opinion, which is this fight does not go to decision, is currently at minus 260. These are both finishers, guys. We've had 19 fights in both of their pro careers. 16 of those fights have ended by finish. Jairzinho Rozenstriuk knocks out a lot of people in the first round, and in his run in the UFC, Ciryl Gane has finished 2 guys by submission as well, which is kind of rare for the heavyweight division, especially a guy who's known as a French Thai boxer. This guy has 2 submissions, including a heel hook, in the UFC. So Ciryl Gane is obviously not a typical heavyweight. He moves fast. He's agile. He's got the crazy ground game. I think that he has a lot of advantages in this contest. I think he's the more varied striker. I think he has a more diverse set of attacks. I think that he's the more let's say, aggressive, relentless, offensive. He throws more volume. On the other side, you got Jairzinho Rozenstriuk, who's a little lower volume, little less output, little more plodding, but he's got great counter ability. He's going to be, digging away at those legs of Gane. And my question is, how does Ciryl Gane look without that mobility? I think that mobile fighters, can tend to outclass opponents because they're moving around them. They're so hard to hit. But if somebody's able to chop them down with leg kicks before pursuing them with those punches, they're able to get a better opportunity at clean punching exchanges. And I think that Jairzinho Rozenstriuk, in order to win this fight, needs to win by knockout. He needs to force clean punching exchanges. And I think the way you do that against somebody like Ciryl Gane, who's going to be in and out, who's going to be light on his feet, who's going to be moving, and who's going to be elusive in terms of his head as a target, I think that you've got to chop this guy down at the legs if you want a chance to beat him. And I think that Jairzinho is going to come out looking to do that. I think that Jairzinho is more proven over 5 rounds, certainly. And Ciryl Gane, with that big, bouncy, athletic, moving style, that is a tax on your cardio, folks. And I think that we have to pay attention in these heavyweight contests, banking on a guy who's never gone 5 rounds to be able to do so comfortably at heavyweight. That's crazy. You can't, until I've seen it, until it's in the data, until it's in evidence somewhere, I can't trust this guy, Ciryl Gane, necessarily. Now, that being said, I'm also not going to put money against Ciryl Gane. And I hope you guys understand that distinction. So I'm not saying that, you should go put a max bet ticket on Jairzinho Rozenstriuk. Of course not. What I'm saying is that I don't have enough confidence or enough value on either guy, on either line, to take a stab at this fight. However, if I was going to take a stab on this fight, like I said, guys, fight does not go to decision at minus 260. I think that there's a tremendous amount of value there when you've got 2 guys who are both finishers. And again, 16 out of 19 fights have ended inside the distance. I think if you want to attack this fight, that you might want to look at that fight does not go to decision prop. And again, why would we look at that instead of backing one of the sides that we think might be more live? It's because for the same price as I can get the favorite in this contest, I could get both athletes to win as long as it's inside the distance. This is heavyweight MMA. Heavyweight fights go to the judges' scorecards less often than other weight classes. But on top of that, guys, it's 5 rounds. So we've got an extra 10 minutes of fighting. I think that it's going to be very hard for these 2 guys who both hit so hard, and Ciryl Gane especially, who moves at such a high pace. I don't know that he'd be able to do what he's doing for 5 rounds. So I'm curious to see this fight, but I think that the most likely outcome is that one of these 2 big men is going to land that finishing blow. Somebody's going to get knocked out in this contest, is my view. However, the X factor here, and if you're looking at, maybe a way to attack this from a prop betting perspective, we've seen that Jairzinho Rozenstriuk has a critically underdeveloped ground game, especially by UFC levels. He was taken down easily against Junior Albini, who's not good. He was taken down against Alistair Overeem with upper body takedowns, not the slickest takedowns, not the best offerings from Alistair Overeem. He was still able to get Bigi Boy down on the ground. He was able to do it relentlessly. He was able to do it over and over. So I think that Jairzinho is getting better. He's only 32 years old. I think that we're likely to see improvements from him here, but I think that he's going to be outclassed and outgunned by a more diverse and more talented offensively Ciryl Gane. So my pick for the main event is Ciryl Gane. I'm backing the favorite, but I'm not touching this fight from a betting perspective, and that's the way I see it. If you guys are taking action on this fight, again, let me know in the comment section below. I'm curious who you're backing. So what action do I have? You're saying, Liam, you're telling me about the main event. I appreciate it, but I want to take some action on this card. I'm looking to get frisky. I want to get some money on the line. Tell me where I should put my money. I'll say this. Underdogs have been hitting at about a 40% clip so far in the UFC this year, and that for me seems like a time to start looking at dogs, guys. I play a lot of favorites because I like to seek out, value spots where I think this guy is better than his price indicates. And a lot of times you can get a favorite with a price tag smaller than it should be. However, if I'm seeing that underdogs are hitting at a 40% clip, these are 50-50 fights. Every fight's got one guy on each side. And I think that in some of these matchups where I think the fight should be lined 50-50, I got to start taking a stab on the underdog. And there's a couple of spots on this card where I think that there might be an underdog that should be an outright favorite. So, or at least that should be pick 'em price and no worse. So I have 2 underdog plays that I'm ready to share with you on the show, and I'm excited to share them with you. The first, guys, is 1 unit on Ashley Yoder at plus 300 against Angela Hill. So this is a rematch fight. Angela Hill won the first contest, so I'll come right out and say, I know why the market is thinking that Angela Hill is going to win this fight. And I don't think that they're wrong to favor Angela Hill in this matchup. However, I think that Angela Hill at minus 375, coming off of 2 losses by split decision, is absurd. Obviously there's some parts of Angela Hill's game that are not optically appealing to judges. We have evidence of that now, 2 contests in a row that she believes she won, and she lost on the judges' scorecards. And so I think that perhaps if she had taken a different attitude about some of those contests, that maybe we would be seeing more improvements and changes from Angela Hill. But I think that she's likely to show up with the same game plan, the same set of skills, and I think she's a tough and talented fighter. But I think that her skill set, it shouldn't be any more than maybe a minus 180 indication in this fight, which is 65%. Currently, Ashley Yoder is being given a 25% chance to win this fight by odds makers, and I don't buy that for a few reasons. So, number one, who's more live to finish this fight, Angela Hill or Ashley Yoder? In my opinion, it's Ashley Yoder. Ashley Yoder has a submission game. She's getting better on her feet. She's not the world's greatest striker, but she's becoming more and more competent. She's becoming more confident on the feet, willing to throw more. And I think that she is live to get takedowns in this spot. I think she's live to take the back. I think that if she's put on her back at any point, this won't be Angela Hill raining down ground and pound from a control position. I think it'll be Angela Hill being forced to defend submissions because Ashley Yoder's talented off her back. She's a talented grappler. And I think that if you get a chance to bet on somebody at plus 300, right, 25% indication, when they're bigger, when they're longer, when they have better cardio, when they're younger, I'm like, I don't see Angela Hill better than minus 200 in this spot. And so if you're going to bet her all the way up to almost an 80% indication, I just have to take a stab on the underdog. So I didn't go crazy. I just went 1 unit. I believe Angela Hill's the better fighter. I think she should be favored to win. But I think that if you're going to give me almost $1.20 free value, is what I feel it is on that play, Ashley Yoder should be about plus 180. If she's going to be plus 300, I got to take a stab, and that's what I did. Moving on, Alexander Hernandez is one of the most common plays I'm seeing other analysts, other people in the space talking about. And God bless you. I think Alexander Hernandez is a great fighter. I think he's a talented guy. I think he's a very dangerous fighter. But I also think that so far in his UFC run, he's been more of a first-round fighter, certainly been a front runner. I don't trust his cardio. I haven't seen all the improvements that I've heard other people talk about. I mean, I'm sure that in the gym he's constantly working. I'm sure he's trying to get better. I wouldn't be surprised to see improvements from him. He's a young man. However, I think that Thiago Moises on the other side, this guy's been very, very good in his UFC run. He hasn't had some of the peaks and valleys necessarily in the same way that Hernandez has had. Like the Cowboy Cerrone fight being a valley, a big valley for Alexander Hernandez. And then he's had peaks too, where he knocked out Beneil Dariush. So obviously, he's a highly talented, highly capable guy. But I think the idea that he should be minus 200, greater than a 65% indication against Thiago Moises, I don't buy that. Bobby Green was minus 300 in his last contest against Thiago Moises, and we saw how that turned out, guys. I think that Thiago Moises is routinely undervalued by the betting market. I think that he's young. I think that he's getting better. I think that he hits hard. I think that he has better cardio and durability than Alexander Hernandez. He's never been finished in pro MMA through 18 pro MMA fights, I believe. So Thiago Moises, in my view, is the value spot. I think that, I thought that there might have been a little bit of value on him when he was plus 165. The market's been moving. He went all the way up to plus 200, and I was blown away by that. I'm taking a stab, not just 1 unit. I've got 1.5 units on Thiago Moises at plus 199. And it's for a few reasons. But again, guys, it's because I believe in my ABCs. You always bet on cardio. I think Thiago Moises is much more likely to win this fight should it go to round 2 than Alexander Hernandez is. And I think if it should go to round 3, we're talking about almost a guaranteed round win for Thiago Moises by round 3. So that's how I feel about this fight. I feel like Thiago Moises is being undervalued here. I think that he might show himself to be a deserving favorite for this contest. We'll see in retrospect. I give Alexander Hernandez the credit for the quality of competition, but given that he's had 2 knockout losses now in the UFC, to Drew Dober and to Cowboy Cerrone, I think that the fact that he is being lined at greater than 65% indication is crazy. I think 60% indication minus 150 is my ceiling on Alexander Hernandez in this fight. So maybe he's going to come out here and prove me wrong. I'd like to see him improve, but I think without seeing it in tape, in evidence, I'm going to have to back Thiago Moises as the underdog in this contest. Guys, last up for the night, I'm going to let you know real quick before we move on to my degenerate action. I can be found on Twitter at LiamPicksFights. I can be found on Instagram, LiamPicksFights. Check out my work there. Check out my work on betmma.tips/LiamHeslin, where you can find written breakdowns to accompany these bets. Or if you forget what any of my betting action was, it's a great resource to check it out. So this is stuff that I'm not necessarily taking action on myself. I did take this degenerate action last week, but this week I'm just going to offer you guys, if you want, if you have money burning a hole in your pocket, if you're saying, Liam, I just want to take a small stab at something that might have real value, and we're looking at something that's a long shot, guys, right? So I'm not going to give you something that's plus 250, plus 300. I want to give you a long shot, some degenerate action that I think has a decent chance of coming through. So my first one, Alexander Hernandez. Again, I told you he's been finished twice in the UFC. He's been finished twice by strikes. Thiago Moises, who was rocking Bobby Green with almost every punch in their last fight, plus 800 to win by KO or TKO. I think that line is insane. I get it in part because Thiago Moises also is live to finish this fight by sub. So maybe people are looking at that Moises inside the distance line. I don't think that that's terrible either. But I think that if you can back that KO, TKO at plus 800, 0.25 units as a sprinkle on that, I don't think that's a bad bet. If you are backing Jimmy Rivera in his fight against Pedro Munoz, guys, Jimmy Rivera was able to drop him. I believe he rocked him. He hurt him on the feet in their last fight. Pedro Munoz has a rock chin. He's never been finished in pro MMA, so I understand why you would not want to take this line. However, if you think that Rivera has a chance of getting a KO or TKO in this fight, it's plus 900, and I don't think that that's a bad stab, especially if you're on the Rivera by decision line. I know a lot of people got in on that. It's now been bet, to being favorite odds. I think it's minus 105. So it's like pick'em price that Jimmy Rivera is going to win this fight by decision. If you take the stab at that and then want to cover yourself with a small hedge on Rivera by KO, TKO, I think plus 900 is a really good number for somebody who hits so hard and who is going to be reliably striking on the feet for most of this fight. And the last few little prop pieces that I had for you guys here was in the Magomed Ankalaev and Nikita Krylov fight, guys. This is the co-main event, and it's a huge fight. I think that it has a lot of implications. I think that Nikita Krylov is a big step up for Magomed Ankalaev, and I think that if you're backing Magomed Ankalaev, I support you. I am not going to be backing him because I want more evidence. I want to see it against a guy as good as Nikita Krylov before I'm willing to take money out of my hand and put it on him. However, that being said, if you aren't sold on Magomed Ankalaev, and I will remind everybody that he was finished via triangle choke by Paul Craig in his UFC debut, which is why a lot of people aren't sold on Magomed Ankalaev. He's looked great ever since. He has not faced anybody near the quality of Nikita Krylov. So if you want to fade Magomed Ankalaev in this spot, I think that Krylov by KO, TKO at plus 1,000, guys, this is light heavyweight MMA. I think the idea that plus 1,000 on Krylov by KO, TKO, that seems a bit wide to me. And then Krylov by sub, the only way we've seen Ankalaev lose, that's at plus 900. So if you're backing Nikita Krylov this weekend and you think that he's going to beat Magomed Ankalaev, I think that those props, if you want to put a little sprinkle on each one of them, they might pay dividends in the end. because I think that Krylov is going to have his work cut out for him in this fight, especially if he's going to win. I think he's going to have to try to wrestle. I think he's going to have to try to mix up the game and get Ankalaev tired. But, man, if he's able to do that, all props to him, because Magomed Ankalaev is a scary man, and he's going to be a difficult man for anybody to beat in that light heavyweight division. So, guys, thank you all for tuning in. I hope that you have enjoyed another great episode of Liam Picks Fights. I'm not kidding, guys. There's a huge announcement. It's coming soon. I can't wait to share it with you guys. As you can tell, I'm not in my normal studio today. Had to improvise so I could come up with a show for you, but I was really excited to sit down to break down that main event. I hope that you guys have a successful weekend betting on this card, and I hope that you guys are all as excited as I am for UFC 259. I'm going to be breaking that card down as well, so stay tuned to the channel, subscribe, like the video, don't miss it. I appreciate you guys. God bless and enjoy the fights.